All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Go With The Flow. I have a very special guest here, but before I get to my guest, the usual things like, subscribe, retweet, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. I have these fancy little stickers right here that I just got. It's on my laptop. So if anyone wants a sticker, reach out to me. It has a little barcode where you scan it and it goes to the link tree for like the YouTube, TikTok, all the different things. So this is the start of the merch journey for me. I'll eventually get to real merch, but we are starting with stickers. But as always, I'm your host, Folarin Okulaja. My guest today, very special guest, one that's brought to us by Remy. Shout out to Remy.
Shout out to
Another Remy collaborations. But we have Veronica Droulia. Is that how I pronounce it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Veronica, who is Veronica? You might be wondering. People always wonder how I get my guests. Podcaster, creator and founder, entrepreneur basically, and just cool influencer.
Oh,
Welcome to the show.
thank you. That's so sweet.
Thank you.
I love the sticker.
Thank you. Do you have stickers for your podcast?
I don't.
I'll send you a link. It's very easy. Put the barcode on it. It's a very.
Did you do the artwork?
I did not do the artwork. Not even funny. Just the history of Go With The Flow. Started it in college, my junior spring. When I first did it, I took a picture and used it as the cover.
Mm-hmm.
After a semester, I joined the school paper because they reached out to me. They were like, oh, we see what you're doing. We like it. Do you want to collab? I was like, sure. And there was a very talented girl who was like an illustrator for the school paper. She asked me what idea I wanted for the new cover art. I literally took a picture and explained it to her, sent it to her, and she produced this in one take. I had no notes. It was perfect. So,
It's incredible.
some people are very talented. I wish
Very talented.
I'm forgetting her name, but shout out to her. That's where this
Shout
logo.
out to the artist.
Shout out to the artist. But Veronica, tell the people, give us your background. Who are you? Who is Veronica Droulia?
Yeah, I love how you pronounced my last name right.
Oh, that's right?
Yeah, nobody ever pronounces it correctly. I had an ex that always said Veronica Derulo.
That's
like Jason Derulo.
Okay.
Would never say it correctly. It was hilarious.
You probably didn't want to correct them because at a certain point, if it's someone you're dating, you're like, if you don't correct them early, it's like, fuck, now we're kind of stuck with this mispronunciation.
Well, I kind of thought it was a joke for a while, but it definitely was not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I am originally from Louisiana. I was born in New Orleans. I was a Katrina kid. So my mom moved to a smaller town called Lafayette, Louisiana, which is 2 hours away. And my dad stayed in New Orleans, but my mom moved to a farm. So I grew up on a farm.
Okay, a farm in Louisiana.
Yes.
Okay.
But I was kind of a weird hybrid kid. I would bounce back and forth between New Orleans and Lafayette. So I grew up kind of in the country and then in the French Quarter where my dad lived. So it was definitely an interesting childhood. My dad owned a jazz club in New Orleans at one point. So he was really involved with the French Quarter lifestyle.
Are you a musical person at all?
My mom is actually a concert pianist.
Oh, nice.
And I was forced to play piano.
So you are a musical person. Okay, there you go.
But I ended up quitting and I took up guitar and just learned a bunch of other stringed instruments like the ukulele, the mandolin.
What is a man? Okay, keep talking. I'm gonna Google
They use
mandolin.
a lot in country music or just Cajun Zydeco music. But
oh, okay.
my
Another
grandmother had
stringed
one, so I
instrument.
just picked it up one day and tried to learn.
Okay,
but
interesting.
yeah, so I grew up in a musical family, grew up on a farm, so very humble, grounded beginnings, which I feel like was so good for just, I guess, getting that experience as a child. It helped me to really learn a lot of empathy, growing up with animals and just, the small town vibes. But yeah, I moved to DC post-college. I lived in Louisiana my entire life.
And you went to LSU?
I went to LSU, so I went to an SEC school, which was...
What was that social experience like? In a different, so I went to Princeton.
Right.
Ivy League, academic, whatever. I'm a big sports fan. I always wish that I went to school that had a much bigger sports presence. And in another life, if I could do college again, like just for the fun of it and just to like... for the best 4-year experience, I would do like a Georgia and basically an SEC school where it's just like every football game you're tailgating, people are all very invested. Football stadium seats 100,000 people. So what was that college experience like?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I think football was prioritized over school.
I love it. I'm not mad at that.
No, it's hilarious because all of the football players, they're incredible. I had classes with a lot of them. So it was just so amazing getting to really know them and learn who they are. But they had the best locker rooms, the best living situations.
I would say LSU is a very legit
the best
program.
stadium set up, obviously. And then there's these classrooms that are just tragic. So the school is pouring so much money into sports. And I'm not complaining about that at all. We had so much fun going to all of the games, and the parade grounds is where we would tailgate. And it was just a whole experience. Like, college football was life. And yeah, it was just absolutely nuts. There's a place called Tigerland, which is right outside of LSU's stadium, Tiger Stadium. It's right down the road. And there's like all these bars, and they're right next to each other. And it was just nuts. I don't know how like we survived because we were just absolute monsters, and it was so much fun. But I met the most incredible people, and I made some of my best friends there. But yeah, I was only an hour away from home. So if I needed to go home for the weekend, it was an easy drive. But I think I just needed to eventually leave my little bubble because a lot of people end up staying, and that's totally fine. And I have so many friends that still live there, and I'm so grateful for them. Whenever I go home, I get to catch up and spend time with them. But I think if I wouldn't have left post-college and moved to DC, I would have never experienced anything different. But it's funny that you went to Princeton. I think we chatted about this a little bit. But I also kind of have connections in New Jersey. My dad's side of the family has a farm there, so big farm vibes.
Everywhere. I love it, yeah.
Big farm girl. Now I'm living in New York, so it's just polar opposite environments. But it's in New Jersey, about an hour from Princeton. So I had a friend that went to Princeton, ran track there. So I was really good friends with his girlfriend, actually. So we would go up there, stay at the farm, and then go to Princeton reunions every year.
Love it.
Yeah. And we would get, what's that chicken place?
Hoagie Haven. Hoagie Haven. Yes, you are okay. I mean, I was gonna ask you what the spots you went to. Yes, Hoagie Haven. That's the one. That was the
only place I would like just beg people to bring me to. But what was it like at Princeton? Because I actually had a friend that played football there.
Oh, what class?
2019, 2020.
What was his name?
Tiger Bosch.
Tiger, okay. I don't know the name. It's such a small school that even, I was class of 2022, but even people like up 2 years above and below, you would know because
for sure,
small enough community. But I loved it. I can't speak highly enough about my experience there. It obviously was very hard academically, but my freshman year, I made it that much harder on myself because I started pre-med engineering. I was doing a lot, mostly because like parental pressure. But once I dropped that and then the academics, I got into my flow, it was just an experience like no other. Met some amazing people who will be my best friends for the rest of my life, who I can't wait to see all the different things they accomplish.
Yeah.
People underestimate the social life. And I don't know if I'm just such a person who is like, wherever I go, I'm going to have my fun. So I don't know if that's just me, like I went to Princeton and I made the most out of it, but I legitimately think it is an objectively very fun place to be. We have our eating clubs, which is a different social culture, but I think it works better than like Greek life because I think it's more inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
People have their own opinions. There's always like a little battle every year about like, are the eating clubs inclusive, blah, blah, blah. I think they are. So between academics, social life, the people that you meet, I loved it.
I thought it was just so beautiful.
And glad you said that. I think, again, I make a lot of subjective statements, but say they're objective. I think objectively, the most beautiful campus.
I agree.
That I've ever been to.
I have a funny story. So we had Ubered from the place we were staying.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in a parking lot by the football stadium.
Okay, yeah.
It was me and a friend. And there was this car driving around, and he rolls down the window and he's like, "Hey girls, are you lost?" And I was like, "Yeah, we are lost. Do you know where blah, blah, blah eating club is?" And he was like, are you a student here? And we were like, no, we're from Louisiana. And he's like, what are you doing here? We explained the situation and he's like, okay, get in the car. I'll bring you. I'm one of the football coaches.
Okay.
So I trusted him. I don't know why I would just get in the
I
car
was
with
about
a stranger.
to say, he could have been lying about who he was, but you're still with us, so that's
it was all about
matters,
energy. I was like, okay, I trust this guy.
Yeah.
He knows what he's talking about, whatever. So we get in the car and he's like, yeah, by the way, you can't tell anybody that I'm bringing you. I was like, okay.
Okay.
But like to this day, I always think about it because he just found these two girls from Louisiana in the parking lot and brought them to a party.
Brought you to an eating club. Interesting.
He works for the school.
Yeah.
But no, it seems like a really good place to go to school, obviously. I mean, education-wise, but beautiful campus.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun whenever I went there.
But yeah, and you're always welcome back at reunions. It is a fun time. I unfortunately can't make it this year because we have a family trip to Vegas. But
oh my gosh, family trip to Vegas.
I know. Every time I say that, people are like, what? And I didn't pick the location. People said where we're going. I said, okay, I'll see you there.
That's fun.
I don't make the rules. I just go and I hang with the fam.
Gambling with the fam.
That's it. I don't see, I'm not a, people, if I don't think I'm going to gamble.
Yeah.
I don't get I'm glad I'm not into sports betting or gambling. Because I have, my self-control isn't great. So I feel like if I got into these things, it would just spiral out of control and you see how people do what they do. Yeah. So I think I will stay away from the gambling.
You know, I agree on my behalf as well. Because I'm not a good gambler. So if I attempt, I'm going to lose all my money. Yeah. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But okay, so LSU, moved to DC. What took you to DC?
I actually interned in DC summer of 2017. It was going into my junior year of college. I was working for the nonprofit sector in DC. So I was doing grant proposal writing and I was writing to different foundations for different organizations trying to get funding. So that was a really cool experience. And I absolutely fell in love with DC and just like being in a city that was on the East Coast.
Yeah, no farmland around.
Exactly. And New Orleans is a city, but very small town vibes. You're going to run into people, anytime you leave the house, it's a given. But everybody kind of just knows each other. Yeah. So
although you stay in New York long enough, it's starting to feel like that too. You see people.
Oh, this is a small island.
Very small. Yeah.
But yeah, I just really fell in love with the whole lifestyle of being in a city and being able to walk places and just the whole vibe. So I ended up wanting to move there post-grad. I actually was going to move there with an ex.
Oh.
And
how long had you been dating for before you thought about moving to a city with him?
2 years.
Okay. All right.
So we dated for 2 years and we were going to move to DC together.
To live together?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, just to start this new chapter.
Yeah.
And he basically at the last minute decided not to, but I had already applied to grad school and had a roommate and I said, well, I'm going. I don't have another choice. I applied to one grad school. So I applied to GW and I got my MBA from there. But yeah, I ended up moving to DC. A lot of my college friends or people from college that maybe I didn't know previously ended up in DC too. So
are you glad that guy didn't end up going to DC? I feel like that's a blessing in disguise. Things worked out how they were supposed to.
Yeah. I think the universe has its way of organizing things and making sure certain things don't happen or, putting things into your life. And I don't think I would have accomplished the things that I did if I would have moved with him. But we were long distance for 2 years, so tried.
Okay. Wait, after moving to DC, you moved to DC, you still did another 2 years long distance?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was interesting. But yeah, I got my MBA from GW and I felt really grateful that moving to a new place outside of my bubble, I had a lot of connections from Louisiana. That's the funniest thing about that state. Wherever you go, you're going to find some weird connection with somebody from there, or there's a mutual friend of somebody, and it's
a small world.
It's a big culture. So a lot of people are really connected to it. But yeah, I loved DC. It was super great, but I think from like a creative standpoint, I don't want to say it's lacking there. I think it's definitely growing, but
You could say it's
it's
lacking. It's
yeah,
not New York. Yeah. It's
no,
not LA.
it's
Yeah.
very I guess politically centric and heavy. So that's not what I do.
Yeah.
And I just felt as if it was kind of holding me back. I was almost a big fish in a small pond.
Mhm.
And I absolutely made the best friends there and had the best experiences. And honestly, the whole creator scene there is really intimate and awesome. And they have great events, and the hospitality industry is like really booming there. But I was just ready to be around people that were kind of on the same track of entrepreneurship or, you know, design, or I don't know, just I think New York breeds different types of people.
Yeah, 100%. I remember talking to someone who, I forget how long they lived in DC for, if they just did an internship there, but she was like, you go to the bars after work for happy hour and everyone's just trying to like debate politics. And it's just
That's exactly what it
everything
is.
is so politically driven. And again, that just sounds exhausting and not somewhere where most people would want to, not something most people would want to do.
I know far too much information about our government.
There you go. Yeah.
No, like insider information that I should not be
No,
aware of.
yeah.
And not that I'm like ungrateful for that. I honestly feel as if it taught me so much about politics
Mhm.
and the inner workings of how our government works, and seeing it from, I guess, the outside looking in and hearing these conversations amongst Hill staffers and things like that. I honestly think I know, I would say 70% more than people that have never lived in DC. And
more than you would learn in school, that type of
absolutely. And I'm grateful for that because I think it helped me fine tune my own opinions and the way that I go about my decision making. And I don't know, it was an interesting culture for sure.
Yeah. And then when did the move to New York happen?
July. So I'm kind of a New York little baby.
Oh, you did say, oh, it hasn't even been a year.
No.
Oh, wow, you are a little, oh, well, welcome to my, no, I'm kidding. How has been, wait, when you decided to move, did you know a ton of people here already? Or what was that experience like for you? Or was it just kind of I know I want to go to New York City. I don't know that many people, but I know it's where I want to be, so I'm just going to go for it.
So my dad was born in Manhattan.
Okay.
And
Manhattan to a farm. Wow, I like it.
I know. Well, so his whole family, my dad's side of the family immigrated from Greece.
Okay.
So both my grandparents are Greek, so I'm half Greek. And they kind of set their roots here in Manhattan. And then my dad somehow got to New Orleans. And we have the family farm in New Jersey. So I was like training in high school and, you know, as a kid coming into the city. So I feel like I got familiarized with New York pretty early on.
Mm-hmm.
And I always had this dream of wanting to live here. It was almost this far-fetched dream that I never knew if it would actually happen, but that was my goal.
Yeah.
I wanted to live in New York. I wanted to have my own business, and I wanted to wear a pantsuit. that was the only thing I visualized growing up.
Do you wear pantsuits now?
Sometimes I do,
Okay.
but cute ones.
Okay.
Not anything like basic.
Okay.
Has to be like really, really, really cool. But yeah, I feel like I had a really good idea of the city. Obviously, visiting is completely different from living here.
Yeah.
But I started visiting friends here while I was living in DC, and it's an easy train ride. So.
Yeah.
And I love the jet bus. If you haven't heard of that, it's a luxury bus that travels between DC and New York only.
Interesting.
And
how long does that drive?
4 hours.
That's not bad.
But they have an attendant on board, and they can serve you drinks, wine, beer,
okay,
whatever you want. There's Wi-Fi.
Interesting.
They have 0 gravity seats, so.
Okay. Yeah, that was not a thing that I knew.
Yeah.
The jet motor coach. Okay, interesting.
They're amazing. They're amazing. I've done a lot of work with them, and they're just a fabulous brand. But anyway, I started coming here and acting as if I lived here already.
Uh-huh.
So I would stay with friends in different neighborhoods. I wouldn't like do any of the touristy things. I would stay in the neighborhoods and really just experiment with if I was living here, what would it be like?
Yeah.
So I feel like that also helped me out a lot. But yeah, I feel grateful that I had a good community here already. I had friends from college. I had friends from childhood here. I have a lot of friends now recently moving here in the next couple of months. And I just feel really blessed that I didn't have to have that transitional period where I didn't know anybody and I was really having to go out of my way to make friends. But I think it's all about energy and being a magnet and attracting certain types of people. I always say this, but your vibe attracts your tribe. And
I'm gonna steal that. It makes,
I mean, everybody says it.
It makes sense.
It's kind of
your
corny.
vibe attracts your tribe. Yeah.
But the minute I moved here, I just started posting on social media that I was here and I was doing things. And people were finding me on Instagram and asking to hang out and telling me about certain recommendations that they had. And I have made some of my best friends in the city from that. Okay. Just instant connections. And I think that is a really good way to just define, or I guess discover new friendships and really prioritize them, is if you have that instant connection. It's like dating.
Yeah.
If you have that instant connection, you really need to invest in that relationship, because I have had so many of those living here just right off the bat, like just chatty Cathy's talking about life, having all these like shared values. So I think it's very similar.
Have you always been someone that people have been drawn to, or is that something you've had to cultivate and work on your extrovertedness?
Oh my gosh, as a kid and probably until high school, I was mute.
Interesting. I would never guess.
I did not speak. And now I tell people that's why I have not shut up since.
That's why you get a podcast. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, I was really, really shy growing up.
Okay. And then what changed? What do you think?
So my best friend till this day, we were tied at the hip, so codependent on each other, still kind of are. But
is she in the city too?
No, she lives in Atlanta.
Okay.
But she and I would not spend more than like a day apart. I basically lived with her family at one point. I was driving with them to school every morning. We were just like sisters, you know? And her older sister actually just moved to the city too. I'm getting brunch with her later today.
There you go.
So they're like my family.
Yeah.
And I think your chosen family is so important.
Chosen family. That's one of my roommates, Grant. That's one of his favorite songs. He always loves talking about chosen family. Shout out, Grant.
Oh, shout out, Grant. But yeah, chosen family is important too. And yeah, she ended up moving to a different city our freshman year of high school. And I feel like that really allowed me to
force you to branch out,
break the barrier. But yeah, she basically talked for me for the first half of my life. But you know, I'm just so grateful for her, and we have such a good friendship. And it's great how that friendship continues to blossom throughout different chapters of our life.
Yeah.
Because I think there's friendships that I have had where whenever we enter new chapters, we can't necessarily serve each other as friends as maybe we did once before. And you kind of grow out of that friendship, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's always an interesting one where, again, whether it's you think about your high school friends who you go from seeing each other every day in high school to everyone then goes off to college their own separate ways. And you notice the relationships where you don't need to speak every day. You could text once a quarter and there's still that strength of the relationship. And then there's others where it's like you try to force the conversation, but then it still doesn't even feel as natural, and then you grow out of it. And then the exact same things happen when you go from college where again, people you see every day, you move off all over the world. I have some of my best friends I haven't seen since graduation because they are all over the world, all over the country, but we are texting so frequently, and I feel like I still am able to keep up with their lives, and the relationships are just as strong. Whereas there's people who we might have been friends in college, they live in New York City, you never see them, then you realize, oh wait, like there was never much here anyway, and then you're able to be very deliberate about the relationships that you keep up. So it's definitely like I've enjoyed. I'm always like thinking about my relationships that I have with people and kind of not where they stand, but it's like, okay, I think one exercise I always do is like, if I had a wedding today, who's coming?
I think about that a lot.
If the guest list, I take it up. I'm like, if the guest list is 50, who comes? If it's 100, and then you go up from there. And that's kind of how I will map out, okay, because I assume you're the same way. You are interacting with a lot of people. You have a lot of friends, a lot of relationships, but not each relationship is going to be as strong as the next one. And so trying to cultivate and make sure that the ones you care about, you're actually putting that time and effort into. It's important.
I think about that a lot. That is kind of my Roman Empire is if
Your
you are
Roman
not
Empire.
invited to my wedding, we are not as close of friends as you think. No, I'm kidding.
But
I'm
okay,
kidding.
no, but listen, because here's the thing. It depends on, do you think you're going to have a big or small wedding?
Small.
Okay. Okay, fair. I think I want to have a big one, but I'm still even a big wedding, there's going to be people who are going to be left out. And it's not that I don't not care about you. It's just not as much as the people who are going to be at the wedding.
Do you have a lot of friends getting married?
Not yet. So I'm, I think, a little bit younger than you.
Yeah.
So I've had one friend wedding and another good friend just got engaged recently, but she said wedding won't be till like December or late 2025. So outside of that, I don't think there will be any for.
Remind me how old you are?
24.
Oh yeah, it's about to ramp up in the next couple of years.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
Okay.
So it's crazy right now for me, and especially growing up in the South.
Yeah.
People get
married
really early.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I feel like I've been invited to weddings where I'm like, I don't know if I would invite you. Like, I know that sounds horrible.
I don't think that's that crazy.
But yeah, I think as I've seen people getting married and have these really lavish, expensive weddings, and there's a lot of drama. So much drama.
I feel like even more on the girl side than guys usually. Typically with like bachelorette parties, like who's in the bridal party, who's in the this, who's in the that.
Yeah, families having to come together.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And I think it's just turned me off to the idea of having a big wedding.
Fair, good point. Maybe after I attend a few, I might change my mind.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like it's a celebration of people coming together. So having all the people that you care about is important. And you're a very personable person. So I'm sure you have like a lot of friends and connections and people that you would want there.
Yeah.
I think it's to each their own, you know?
Yeah. But you're right. I can't wait for as much as I'm enjoying the phase I'm at in life, I do think that phase in the next 4 or 5 years when everyone's getting married and there's all the bachelor parties and weddings, I am looking forward to that. I think that'll be a fun phase. Sounds expensive. Sounds like most of your time is not your own, but I mean, it's just a part of life.
Yeah.
So
and those are memories that you'll never get back.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's expensive and time consuming, but I know that I'm going to look back 10 years from now when everybody's married and has kids.
There's kids running around.
And I'm going to be like, damn, I wish I could go back to that bachelorette party. I wish I could be like face down, ass up, with like kids running around.
Which is also crazy to think about because we are, again, in 10 years, there's gonna be kids.
Yeah.
There's going to be kids and weddings, and we're going to be in a very different phase in our lives in 10 years. But again, I
already have friends with kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Whoa. Yeah, no, I'm not even close to that. That is years away. Although I would like, in a not weird way, I would like more kids in my life.
I'm not a kid person.
You're not. Oh, okay.
No, it's not that I'm not a kid person. Like I like looking at cute babies and kids, and I really appreciate them and smile at them, and to them.
Yeah.
And I love the kids in my family.
Mm-hmm.
But
every other kid.
I think I'm going to be one of those moms that isn't crazy about other people's kids, but really loves my
adores
own kids.
Your own kids. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. That's fair. But okay, so you've been in New York less than a year so far. Let's see. How would you rank the experience? Because again, you said you've always wanted to live here, so I bet there was these very high expectations about what you thought life would be. How has reality stacked up to the expectations you had?
I think I was and everybody says this, but I was so incredibly surprised by how nice and accommodating everybody is. Yeah. Everybody's really friendly here. I think, hot take, people are friendlier here than they are in DC.
Wow. Okay. Because I don't think everyone's friendly here. I think the people when you meet them in setting, like when you get connected to people, everyone's really friendly. But I'm thinking more like the amount of like interactions you have on the streets or on the suburbs, like people are just assholes. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. But I would agree that through friends of friends and mutuals, that community of people has been very welcoming and nice in that way.
I think the street environment is very different.
Okay.
I can be an asshole on the street. And it's when you have a conversation with somebody where you're like, oh my gosh, this person just really filled my cup.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of, we're all here as individuals, whether you're in a partnership or, you have your family here, whatever. I think this is kind of a very lonely place. And not that I've really felt super lonely. Obviously, there's times where you do in New York or any city for that matter, but
just human nature. It happens to everyone anywhere. Yeah.
But I think there's this dire need for people to want to connect. And I think in DC, I don't know why, but everybody was really on edge. And I think it's because, again, it's like very politically heavy. So like people have like a lot of differing opinions and it causes a lot of hostility and stress, and everybody's stressed out. So, everybody's stressed out here too, to an extent. But I just found that, I was really surprised by how friendly everybody was here. Or not everybody. There's obviously going to be the legit assholes. But I think I'm just really enjoying the independency of it. And I think I've always been a very independent person. I had the most amazing parents, but I am always told by my friends that I basically raised myself. And I think you have to be independent to live here, because if you're depending on somebody else to get you through it, you're not going to be able to survive here. So I think that's like my number one tip I would give to somebody that's thinking about wanting to move here or live here is do some inner work if you don't feel as if you can solely depend on yourself and you. And I think it's been absolutely incredible. Everything is so accessible here.
Are you a fan of the subway? What are your general thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I take the train.
Okay.
I take the train. Uber, all of that. It takes way longer.
Very expensive.
Breaks the bank. I love a little subway Kindle action. I'm one of those girls that reads on the subway. I had a friend that made fun of me for doing that.
Well, I mean, I don't make fun of people for doing it, but I'm like, how much can you actually be, and you could tell me otherwise, how much can you actually be dialed into what you're reading in 4 stops? And I just feel like I'm never riding anywhere that's long enough that I think I'll be able to read a good amount that it's worth even whipping something out.
So I live on the Upper East Side.
Okay. Oh, I was going to ask where you lived. Okay.
So I take the 6, which takes me about 30 minutes to get downtown.
Fair.
So within those 30 minutes,
you can get them.
I can't really twiddle my thumbs for that long.
Fair.
So that's why I read. But if I were just on like a 2-stop, 4-stop train, no, I'm not taking out.
Because I'm in Phi Dai. I live by Fulton Street, and I can get anywhere I need to go in like 4 or 5 stops in
for sure
20-something minutes. I'm not going to be whipping out a book or a Kindle or a whatever experience. So, but
I was in the Phi Dai 2 nights ago.
You were, wait, where?
We went to ZZ Wine Bar.
ZZ Wine Bar.
And then the Hyde Rooftop.
I've not heard of either of those places.
They had like a little event. They just opened the rooftop for the spring.
That's the thing about New York City. There's so many places. It's hard to be aware of every single one.
There's too much.
There's way too much. But so speaking of which, the nightlife, we were talking about this a little bit beforehand. How would you rank the overall experience of the New York nightlife? And this came up because I was saying last night, tried to go out I had a friend's birthday dinner. It was 10 of us guys, admittedly. Big group of guys. Fair, sure. But call me crazy. I think 10 guys should still be able to get in somewhere on a night out without having to wait for a very long time. So we try to go to a bar. We get there like a club, actually. We get there at 11:15-ish because we want to be early to make sure the 10 guys get in.
Yeah.
The guy whose birthday it was, his girlfriend met up with us, then 2 other friends. So 10 guys, 3 girls. Not a great ratio, but it's a fine ratio at 11:15. We're literally in line for like 20-something minutes, and the bouncer's like, yeah, if you're in this line, no luck, you're not getting in, basically. And then I went home because I'm at a point where when I meet the slightest resistance on a night out, I'm going home.
Yeah. Also, waiting in a line is just humbling. Yeah. I don't know what it is about waiting in a line, but I will say that sometimes the line is the funnest part of the night.
Fair.
I don't know why.
Fair.
I think it's because you can actually hear each other.
True. Or you like meet other people in line and whatever. But so that's why I'm curious about what your take on the New York City nightlife has been thus far.
So yeah, hate waiting in a line. It is my least favorite thing with a burning passion.
Same.
It is so humbling. I don't know why. I just feel like a little rat, like packed in on the street.
And I think the bouncers they get a joy in there's a massive power trip that happens for every single bouncer when they see the line of people and they know they're controlling the access to the door, which is another thing I fucking hate. It's like I'm not insulting anyone, but it's like, you're bouncing this close. Like, who are you?
I would love to be a bouncer. That sounds so empowering.
It sounds like you get a good ego trip, but that's like the only good thing bouncers are good
I'm
for.
joking. I wouldn't want to be one, but I think it'd be fun for a night. But yeah, so I, again, feel really lucky because whenever I moved here, I went to a Colin Jost, Marcelo Hernandez, and there were some other openers from the SNL cast that were performing at Radio City. So I went with a friend. I love comedy. I think it's so great to have those belly laughs, and that's sometimes what just ignites it out of me.
Yeah.
And
who's your favorite comedian?
I love Marcelo Hernandez. I think he is just the cutest little Latino. He's just adorable, and his humor is hilarious. Just his mannerisms, everything. But I really like this one place on, I think it's the Lower East Side, but it's called the Original Barbershop. It's this barbershop during the day. And then at night, it turns into a comedy club, but it's super intimate. I want to say maybe 15, 20, 30 people are in the crowd, and it's just fold out chairs. They have couches in the back, BYOB.
Oh, wow.
And it's all these people from Comedy Central that just come and perform and practice their content.
You would love underground, overground comedy. And I give them, have you heard of it?
No.
I give them so many plugs on the show. Great guys. But they host comedy shows in different locations all over the city. So they've done some in barbershops.
Oh,
they did one in Katz's. Well, they now do an annual show in Katz's Deli. And so I had one of the co-founders, David Levine, on my podcast. And so that's the comedy show I go to the most in the city. Because last one I went to was, I've been to one in a gym. I've been to one in a clothing store. I've been to one in a rooftop location. They did one at the Edge also, but it'll also be like a rotating list of comedians or names you probably recognize. And it's as much alcohol as you want. You all get to socialize with people before and after. So it is by far my favorite comedy experience, and probably the only show I will keep consistently going to.
Oh my gosh, I have to go.
I will take you to a show.
Yeah,
amazing. We'll make it happen.
Absolutely. But yeah, the Original Barbershop, amazing. And going back, I went to this comedy show, and I went to the Pebble Bar after, which is Pete Davidson's bar. And it's in Midtown. And me and a friend were just having drinks and hanging out. And this guy, Ryan, comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, girls, how's your night going? Blah, blah, blah." He is the customer experience manager. Which I want his job.
Shout out Ryan.
I want his job because that sounds so fun. He basically just ensures that everybody's having a good time.
Yeah.
He brought us oyster shooters with tequila.
Wow.
And because we told him we were from Louisiana. And he brought us upstairs to the lounge, which is usually closed off, but that's where the SNL cast will hang out after, their recordings, their live recordings. And I got to play Amy Winehouse's, it was a piano that Mark Ronson and Amy Winehouse wrote Back to Black on.
Wow.
And it was the coolest thing ever. We sat up there and chatted with him for hours, and we just had so much in common with him. He's one of my very good friends in the city now, and he knows everyone.
Sounds like a guy who would.
He knows everyone. Anytime I want to go out, I just call Ryan, and he's like, "Where do you want to go? Jeans, Acme. I'll come get you.
I need a Ryan.
I'll bring you." He knows every bouncer. It is incredible. So I feel lucky that
you
I
found
met
a Ryan.
him. But
Fair
there are
enough.
so many people like that in the city that just know everybody in the hospitality industry, whether that's a club or a restaurant. So my biggest advice to people is
Find
be
a Ryan.
friendly and kind to the people that work in hospitality, because it is a huge, huge community, and they're all really close.
Yeah.
So that is my biggest tip for New York.
Find a Ryan. Shout out to
Nightlife.
Ryan. Yeah.
Shout out to Ryan. Find a Ryan. He's the best. And no, seriously, I just feel really connected to him regardless of, you know, the experiences that he's been able to give me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just have such a deep appreciation for people in the hospitality industry, especially with my dad owning a jazz club in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
He was always best friends with the people that were bartenders, waiters, waitresses in the French Quarter. So those were some people that were like my aunts and uncles growing up. I'm sitting bar top with my dad. He's shooting whiskey. I am like drinking a Shirley Temple at 6 years old, sitting at the bar. So I think I've just always really been, I guess, wanting to cultivate relationships with people in the service industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like something that I'm really passionate about. Those people get shit on all day, every day. So I think being able to make their day and give them a little
just
light
be nice
joy.
to people. Yeah.
Yeah, be nice to everybody.
I just wish the bouncers would be
especially
nice
people in the
to
service
me.
industry.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the bouncers are on a power trip for sure. But I think as far as like the club scene goes, I think it's been interesting for me because whenever I was here for the first few months, I was hanging out with this crowd that was going to these particular clubs or bars, and those people, those like big groups of people that are like constantly going to the same places, they are going to drag you out every single night of the week. Every single night you are going to get trapped.
Can you opt out of, 6 days and just do one night?
I guess you could, but it's like they lure you in, So I've really had to just create some boundaries with myself. I haven't been like super going out lately, like to the clubs or anything.
Interesting that you already, because it took me I would say my first year in New York City. I've now lived here a year and 8 months-ish. First year I was probably out every Friday, Saturday night consistently. And then in the summers when it's like people are doing stuff on Sundays, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday consistently. I think when I hit the year mark is when I dialed it back. And when like I said, like the experience last night, if we didn't get in, if this was in my first year, I would have tried to bounce somewhere else and do something else. But now I'm at a point where, one, I'm not trying to go out most nights. And if I do and there's some resistance, I'm just going to go back to the crib. And a lot of people now will host a lot more house parties and a lot more things where it's not like a public where you're going out and you're going to have to wait in line and interact with the bouncer. It's if you go somewhere, you're going to get in. And so that's definitely been the shift that's happened for me. So it sounds like it happened a little quicker for you.
Well, I say that, but I think everybody goes through that part of life where when you move to New York, you are going to be going out every single night. It's a good way to meet people for sure. I met some really great friends just from going out and having a good time. But I think especially post-college, like the first 2 or 3 years, I was a maniac. I was out every single night in DC, could not be bothered, could not be stopped. And I think now I'm one of those people where if I do go out, I am going all out.
All out, fair. You go out less often, but all out.
I'm not having like one drink. Like I am having my own bachelorette party by myself. And I think it's just fun because I get to really appreciate those nights where I'm just having a good time, really just trying to take the edge off a little bit maybe. But I've really been enjoying my nights in. And I think it's just
your taco nights, your chill nights.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to ask me whenever I was like 22, 23, even 24, if I would be going out like every night of the weekend at 27, I would be like, hell yeah.
Really? Oh, I'm 24 and I would be like, oh God, no. I hope not.
I would be like, yes. But I think as I've gotten older, I just am tired.
Yeah.
I'm not like old,
but 27. Yeah.
You do get exhausted from it. And I think going to like the same places on repeat for me was starting to get kind of boring. Yeah. So maybe I just need to spread my wings.
Spread your wings a little bit. Okay. Well, we're going to get to, actually, I'll go this direction first. So your podcast, Martinis and Bikinis. Talk to me about that origin story, when you started it, why you started it.
For sure. So, and I'm talking about not going out. My podcast is literally called Martinis Bikinis, but also, last little tip.
Yep.
If you have a group of 10, you guys should divide and conquer.
Yeah, we try to do that. And then when the girls came, we're like, okay, let's do 3 guys, 1 girl. We tried.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you tried.
Yeah.
You gave it the good old
I actually
college
wonder
try.
if they got in. Okay, sorry, you keep speaking. I wonder if they got in because
Okay. Sometimes you can't give them the razzle dazzle.
What's up?
Sometimes you can't give them the razzle dazzle.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Martinis and Bikinis, it's kind of funny because it's really about navigating your 20s. It's very girly, but it's kind of an oxymoron, ironic thing because I actually have on a lot of health professionals too.
Okay.
And we will have martini glasses with green juice in it. One time I did bone broth with somebody, matcha. You know, it's basically my guest drink of choice. So whether that is alcoholic or, you know, something that is a little bit more holistic, wellness oriented, that's great.
Yeah.
But it's meant to be a happy hour where I bring on people that live unconventional lifestyles. So that's something that I've always been really attracted to. It's something that I think has always really empowered me and something that I knew was going to fulfill me at some point in my life. So I'm really inspired by people that have these very, guess, off the beaten track type of stories or upbringings or careers. So we just have a happy hour where whether they're creators, entrepreneurs, or just someone that's interesting.
Interesting people, yeah.
We'll talk about lifestyle, dating, wellness, or just entrepreneurship in general. So it's been a wild ride, but I started it in DC. I always wanted to have some sort of long form content.
Same.
And I was always really interested in the podcasting space because I love listening to podcasts, and it's a way for you to feel connected to people, especially when you're alone. That's the number one thing that I have gotten feedback on is most of my listeners are people that either live alone or maybe they're in the car driving alone for a few hours, and it helps them feel like they're talking to a friend.
Yeah, or like sitting in on a conversation.
And I'm sure that's how your listeners feel too.
Yeah.
It's like a conversation with friends. But basically, I was sitting at Bluestone Lane and I was typing on my computer and I just had this overwhelming feeling. And I was listening to this couple behind me. They were on a first date. And it was tragic. It was so tragic the way this girl was treating this guy. And I could not believe
the way she was treating him. Say more. What was?
I can't even explain what was happening, but she was like on her phone the whole time and giving him the shortest answers. And look, I understand if you're not enjoying a date, but you have to be a respectful, kind person. And then the things that were coming out of her mouth were just so ridiculous and unhinged. And, you know, obviously I don't know their relationship or what was happening, but in my mind, I started thinking, I would love to give my 2 cents to them, but I know that I can't. But it would be so fun to have a platform where I could give advice or I could bring people on where we're sharing ideas or opinions. And I had just started my swimwear line, Noa Collective.
Which we'll get to in a little bit,
Yeah. And I kind of wanted a way to cross promote my personal brand and my swimwear line. And I'm one of those people that, and at the time I had a marketing agency. I still have it, but I'm kind of focusing my energy on the podcast and the swimwear line right now. But I wanted to blend everything together. And I'm one of those people where everything has to make sense in my brain.
Yeah.
And from a marketing perspective, that was my specialty in my MBA. So I feel like everything just has to be seamless for people to really understand it and for it to be coherent. So I was thinking to myself, what rhymes with bikinis? And at the time, I still do this, but I was doing food reviews in DC and I'm still doing them, but it was my main focus.
Are you on Belly?
I'm on Take Me Out of Office, but I need to get on Belly.
Okay,
I have a lot of friends that are on that.
Okay, I was about to say, get a Belly. I want to follow you
a
on
lot of
Belly.
foodie
if you're,
friends.
I was about to say, if you review food,
that.
you're someone I need to follow on Belly. So make a Belly.
I'm gonna make a Belly. I need to do that.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
But anyway, my thing was going to places and getting dirty martinis, and I have like a very particular way of ordering my martinis, and it's about to sound ridiculous.
Okay, let's hear it.
I always tell the waiters love it. The waiters and waitresses start dying laughing and they start using it. So before anybody comes for me and says that I'm extra, people love it. So I always say I want a dirty martini, but not camping style dirty, but more glamping style dirty.
Okay.
So just a little dirty. And it kind of became my thing amongst my friends and just in my content. So I was thinking to myself, what rhymes with bikinis? And I was like, oh my God. I actually Googled what rhymes with bikinis. And like, that was just like one of the things that like somewhat rhymed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, how did I not think of this?
It's been sitting in front of you the whole time.
And yeah, the podcast was born that moment. I started researching equipment and I set up my own home studio. I got in touch with somebody that I knew that did branding and I set up a photo shoot and it just
became
hit me
a life of its
like
own.
a sack of bricks. And I just had to do it. I'm one of those people where if I have an idea, I have to follow through with it.
Yeah.
And you seem like that type of person too. I think anybody that has a podcast.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Because I would say probably 5% of people who say they're going to make a podcast actually do it. Because it's one thing, the amount of people I've heard say, I want to start a podcast, but they don't actually do it. So yes, anyone who has you're definitely a doer in that sense because it takes a lot to put yourself out there, put the content out there, actually sit down, put the time in, put the money in. So yes.
Yeah,
agreed.
but it's been great. So we talk about lifestyle, business, smallness, dating, and it's kind of just your one-stop shop.
One-stop shop for everything.
Navigating your 20s
and there's also
hearing people's opinions.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of dating conversations from
sure.
from the clips that I've seen. So that brings me back to you. Dating life in the city, dating experience. What is that? What has that overall experience been like?
Well, so the first few months, I did not date at all.
Okay.
At all. And I got out of a 4-year-long relationship 2 years ago. So I had never been single in my 20s. And that was just such, I think, a pivotal moment for me because I said this earlier, but I would not have been able to accomplish half of the things that I've accomplished since then if it wasn't for my breakup.
Yeah. So you hear that, people? Some of your relationships are holding you back.
It wasn't that I was being held back. I think subconsciously I was holding myself back. And I think I had to do so much inner work and healing on my own. And I think that's something to tell people is if you're in a relationship where you feel codependent or you're unhappy or there's certain things that you want to do with your life, I think it's so important to be in a partnership where you feel like you have done all of the healing work on your own. And yeah, I think it was just a super blossoming moment for me. But yeah, I dated in DC a little bit. It wasn't anything serious. And then I moved here and
bunch of guys in politics.
Actually, yeah, there was a few. But I moved here and I just kind of thought to myself, I need to take a few months where I don't date anybody. I am just trying to navigate this new normal for me. And I think when you move to a new city, me and Marin from Life of Marin, New York, she came on my podcast last week and we talked about her 28 dates in February.
I saw that clip, which is just, we could have a whole nother, yeah. I saw that. I was like, wow, okay.
But she's a matchmaker. And we were talking about how when you move to a new city, it's so important not to really focus on dating, but focus on your friendships. Because I think when you have a support system behind you and you've cultivated a good community, then you have the energy to go forth into relationships in a good, positive light. And
you can also meet friends of friends, be connected
with people
in that way. For
sure, you meet your people. So yeah, the first few months I didn't date at all, and I would say maybe in the last couple months I actually started dating people here. But I have this horrible habit of dating people that don't live where I live.
Interesting.
And I think it's a weird subconscious. I'm doing all these subconscious things, but weird subconscious thing that I do. Because I don't know why I do.
That's a weird one. So you are only
commitment.
So you're dating people. So the dates. Wait, hold on. So
I meet people traveling, or I meet people through friends that don't live here. It's weird.
Okay.
I think I'm this weird magnet for people that just don't live where I live.
Sounds like you should get a Hinge and set your radius 0.5 miles so you can solve for that.
It's actually not a bad idea.
Immediately.
It's not a bad idea at all. Yeah, I need to. Well, that's the problem. I don't want to date someone in my neighborhood because what if I run into them all the time and it didn't work out?
I don't think that would happen as much as you think it would.
Really?
Unless they're like they live in your building.
Yeah.
I don't think that would happen as much as you think. Or set it to 2 miles, maybe not 0.5.
2 miles.
Yeah, if you're in Upper East Side, do maybe like
Upper West.
Upper West, yeah,
Walk through the park.
Midtown East, yeah, someone that's a little bit further away.
Yeah, just a little walk in the park.
Just a little walk in the park. Oh, so, have you done an in-person date of someone who's lived in New York City?
Yes.
Okay.
And it went great.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had like a few, but I have really only had one recently where I was like, okay, that was phenomenal. Like that was a great date. And
What makes a great date? What made it so great?
I think it's just again energy. I think I don't know if you've had this experience, but have you ever gone on a date where you know within the first 5 seconds that this is not going to work or it's going to be really boring?
I'm so glad you said that. I will usually know on every single date within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long to figure out if you vibe with a person.
For sure.
So yes, definitely within 5 minutes, any date I've ever been on, you're not going to do some shit in the last 5 minutes. It's going to be like, oh my God.
Yeah. But something really hilarious happened with this most recent date that I went on. There is someone that's lives in a different country, which is, again, an issue.
Yeah.
But so I was in Mexico City a few weeks ago. And I want to say 2 days later, the guy that I had recently went on a date with was on this guy that, like, I guess I've been talking to for the last few months, was on his Instagram story. And they live in completely different countries.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was the universe's way of saying, you need to stop.
Not even. That's just a crazy coincidence how that's happened. There's people who will be dating 6 people in the city at the same time. So I don't think that's that crazy.
No,
that's just a weird coincidence, I think.
I guess. Somebody the other day was like, is it a small world or are you just getting old? I was like, I don't know.
I don't know. Which one?
But yeah, I think with dating, you're going to run into similarities with people that have been through situations like that. It's going to happen way more often than you think. These like weird little coincidences.
In my first month in this, and again, this is because I'm not even on Hinge anymore. I deleted. I've deleted all my dating apps. So on my first 2 months in the city, matched with one girl, was chatting with her. Matched with the second, was chatting with her. Out of nowhere, I get a text from them together. I'm like, first of all, how did this connection even happen? I don't like any part of this. So these things, and they went to different schools. It was a weird one, sticky situation.
What's your opinion on dating in New York?
I mean, I have found it and again, I feel like my first year was much different than my now most recent months. First year was going on a lot more dates, was on the dating apps, really just Hinge, actively on Hinge, going on dates. And I feel like the dates I were going on through apps were not fruitful. And as a guy who pays for all the dates, which I feel like you should, I was spending a lot of money on the dates. And I feel like it was a lot going down the drain for girls I was only going to see one time.
For sure.
And so then there was like a mindset shift of like, okay, I've met girls in person and gone on dates that way. Let me kind of take away this crutch of like the dating app and just like live my regular life and go on dates with people that I'm meeting in real life.
For sure.
And that you'll automatically go on much less dates on the dating app, so save a lot more money and have much more high quality interactions and dates. And that's what I found to be the case.
I think dating apps are really transactional.
Yeah.
And disposable. So, for instance, there could be a girl that is just wanting to have her dinner paid for every week.
Yeah.
Or there could be a guy that's like wanting to hook up, you know? Like, I think that's the transactional aspect of it. I don't think it's always like that.
Yeah.
But it can come off like that sometimes. So I think people are really tired of the dating app.
Yeah.
Also,
I think, there's a lot of stats around there about that. And like Hinge is trying to revamp, Bumble's trying to revamp because there's such a lowered interest in dating apps.
For sure. But these are apps that make a profit off people being on them. So
it's supposed to be addicting. It's like another social media app of a way to get you addicted.
They don't want you to leave the app.
Yeah.
Hinge so they're going to connect you with people that, maybe on paper might be your type, but they have every single logistic and data point of this person, what they're doing on the app, like the littlest touch points that will actually explain your brain, you know? So they know exactly what to do algorithm wise to make sure that this person is not going to be a good match for you. And I think maybe a few years ago, before the algorithm was like really defined, I have a lot of friends that have met people through Hinge or
I know
dating
people
apps.
who, yeah.
But I've noticed recently, and maybe there's still like the rare few that is still meeting through dating apps and has a great relationship. But I've noticed that my friends that are in these amazing relationships off of Hinge or other dating apps, they got together a few years ago.
Years ago. Yes, nothing recently. I agree. And yeah, they say designed to be deleted. I think back in the day that was the case, but
False.
but not
Liars.
anymore. Yeah, it's not. So yes, I am anti dating apps. I don't plan on getting back on them, and I'm proud of myself. Because at first it was all I would delete the app off my phone, which is like I know I'm gonna get it back. But this last time, a couple months ago, I just deleted my account, which is like I know I'm not gonna go back and put 3 pictures or 6 pictures and put 3 prompts. Like it's that is all done.
Yeah, I like that. And I think whether it's like dating your friends or organically meeting people, I think it helps you build a lot of confidence in yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that a lot of people are attracted to is somebody that's like, hey, let's go out, has a plan and is like willing to follow through with it and put themselves out there and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think that comes off as attractive to a lot of people.
And I think
when you're hiding behind an app, sometimes it can just, and I don't want to say hiding because a lot of people are being vulnerable by putting themselves out there on an app, but I think it definitely is something that is more energetically pleasing to a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can relate to this. One thing I didn't like about the apps is you can then find out so much about the person because they'll usually have their Instagram on there. They'll have a bunch of stuff about themselves. They'll have where they went to school. And so you can like piece together who they are just by like going on their Instagram, maybe go to their LinkedIn. Some people will go through different extents. I'm someone who I want to know nothing about you when I meet you. And I want to find out everything about you as I'm going along and growing our relationship. So that was just another piece where I was like, I would go on dates with these girls and it's like, because both sides are doing their due diligence. And so they're like, oh, I went to the school. I'm like, oh, no way. But I knew what school that went to.
Oh, you're like, I've stalked you on Google.
Yeah, I know everything. I know your dad's middle name. Yeah, exactly.
But
so
I have a question for you. Do guys have group chats or sessions where they talk about their dating lives?
I would say yes, but not like solely for that purpose. I would say like I just have group chats with like my guy friends and it'll like dates we went on, dating lives is definitely a topic of conversation. Maybe not a super frequent one, but it'll definitely come up.
Yeah, because I think as women, it's funny. I was at a cafe a couple weeks ago, or this was maybe last weekend, and there were 6 girlfriends and me, and we were talking about dates we had been on recently or horror stories from dating or our opinions on the apps, X, Y, and Z. And there was this male therapist sitting next to us. And he was alone. And he eventually chimes in and just starts giving his 2 cents.
Yeah.
And he was like, this has given me a lot of clarity because I am a male therapist and I counsel men on dating and relationships. And I think sometimes certain men have a lack of community when it comes to dating and being able to talk about it and express their emotions.
No, I got my community.
Yeah.
And this podcast is my community.
Part of me was like, I feel like guys do that.
Yeah, no, we do. We do for sure.
I also think guys overthink the same amount as girls do.
100%. We probably overthink more because we are the ones supposed to. Wait, real quick, Remy, how long have we been going for? I feel like this has been such a great conversation.
Oh my gosh,
like,
yeah, no, keep going. I'm interrupting.
No, you're so. What is it, hour 3? Okay, cool. I'll keep us under hour 10. But no, so wait, sorry, what'd you ask?
About overthinking.
Overthinking, yes, okay, because guys, and I don't care what anybody says, we are the ones supposed to make the move.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. Some people might say no, like equal society, blah, blah, blah. No, guys are supposed to make the first move in whatever way, whether it's in person, whether it's DM, whatever. And so putting yourself out there to make that first move, it's such a mind fuck, a mind game.
Now that girls have these ick lists and things like that.
You can't.
Everything you do is wrong.
Everything you do is wrong. You can't smile anymore.
I have an ick list.
Yeah.
But it's also catered towards things that have happened. If you really like someone, you're not going to be icked out by it.
Although, it's so funny. I realized, because icks are very real. I realized I had one where this was a couple months ago now at this point, but I was on a date with this girl and we were walking outside. And there was a puddle that was very clearly there, and she just took no effort to miss it and just stepped in it.
Gazelle jump over it?
She just stepped right in it. And as someone I'm such a big sneaker guy, like I will keep everything pristine. I'm avoiding puddles. She took that big step and didn't even blink. I was like, I hate
stomped
this.
in the puddle.
I didn't know that was a possible ick, but I was like, oh, this is on my list.
Did it get on you?
Oh, thank God. God, no. Thankfully not. But yes, ick lists are real. They exist for both guys and girls. But that was one where I was like, I saw it develop in real time. And in my mind, I was like, what the fuck just happened? I hated that this just happened.
I hated everything about that.
Yeah. Okay. We could do so much. Like, this is a fun. We
could have a whole other segment.
We could have a whole nother conversation, but I do like to keep it within a certain time.
For sure.
So I'm just going to I want to touch on Noa Collective really quickly.
Yeah.
Tell the people what it is and why did you decide to start a bikini underwear line?
Bikini. So it's actually co-ed. We have men's swim trunks too.
Okay. Wait, I looked at the website. It wouldn't let me get in.
Oh, okay.
How do I buy something?
Our whole business model is kind of like an artist. So an artist comes out with a new collection every so often, and we come out with a new collection every year.
Okay.
And we actually create all of the prints ourselves. And it's very artistic, the approach that we take. So we're coming out with a new collection. So we're rebuilding our site, and it's locked right now.
Awesome. Because let me know when that happens. I will support. You can never have enough.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, you're so sweet. But it stands for Nature's Own Art. So I started it with two childhood friends. We were Hurricane Katrina kids, and we reunited in the fashion industry. I had been working behind the scenes at New York Fashion Week while I was living in DC. And my business partner had started a slides company. So he had a lot of familiarity with I cannot say that
familiarity.
word. Familiarity. With just sourcing and, obviously selling things e-commerce. So it was him and my other partner who was a Ford model for Ford agency.
Mm-hmm.
And they got me on a Zoom call during COVID and they said, hey, Veronica, we have this idea to start an animal print based swimwear line that gives proceeds back to animal conservation. And I was like, guys, first of all, how crazy is it that we're all coming together after 15 years to start something for our community? What if we did all animal print or nature inspired pieces? We didn't limit ourselves and we gave proceeds back to nature conservation and natural disaster relief. So that's where Noa was started. And yeah, we do all nature inspired pieces. We partner with different organizations that are bettering the planet. And our most recent collection that we did, we partnered with Glass Half Full. They're really big on TikTok. And Eco Fran on TikTok, she is the owner and co-founder. And she is a great environmentalist. They basically started this at Tulane University. They had this little contraption where they would turn glass bottles into sand and they would have glass recycling drop-offs. Now they have a huge facility in New Orleans. It's the first glass recycling facility in Louisiana. And they convert it into sand to restore the coast because our marshlands are really, really important. They actually provide 70% of the world's oxygen. And Louisiana
the world's? Wow.
Yeah, all the marshlands, not just in Louisiana.
Okay. I was like, wow, Louisiana, damn.
Yeah, no. Yeah, like have some respect for Louisiana for that. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, yeah, so they actually are providing aid because we lose a football field every 100 minutes to coastal erosion.
Wow.
So we partner with them. So we get to work with some really cool organizations. But yeah, it's co-ed. So we're coming out with 22 new products. So we have a giant catalog coming out. And we're doing snakeskin.
Ooh.
So
okay.
I'm excited.
Amazing. Yeah. Can't wait to support.
Yeah.
But okay, with that, it'll bring us to last two segments for the show.
For sure.
First one being I have each guest come with 5 songs that describe who they are as a person. I leave it up to interpretation. I love seeing the different directions that people will take the question. And so I want you to say each song and say the reason that you chose it.
As a musical person, this was really fun for me. So thank you for this assignment. I wrote it in my notes, but number 1, we're going to keep it really general.
Okay.
Veronica by Elvis Costello.
Okay.
My Spanish teacher growing up always sang that song to me. And she would not actually say my name. She would just say, Veronica. And I love the song.
Shout out Spanish teachers. They're just all special. They're all great.
Yeah, but she would actually say, Veronica. So Hurricane. Oh, I cannot speak now. Just this matcha, it's energizing me. Hurricane by Band of Heathens.
Okay.
It's about being born on Lake Pontchartrain and hurricanes. And I grew up in a boathouse on Lake Pontchartrain and obviously went through Hurricane Katrina. I think growing up in that area, you have to become a very resilient person because those types of tragedies happen all the time, unfortunately. And the communities really come together for it. And it's like nothing I've ever seen before. So I think that's something that's like a big part of my life. 7 rings, Ariana Grande,
Okay.
because I'm extra a little bit, but I also love my friends and I am single and I prioritize my friends like so much. And I love how she just does that in that song.
Love it.
I asked my best friend what song reminded her of me because I think she just
Ooh, I
knows
like
me
that.
better.
Bringing in the collaboration for it.
She knows me better than most people. She said Wildflowers by Tom Petty. And that's such a sweet song. And I just started bawling crying. And then the first song that I learned on guitar, it like really well, is Blackbird by the Beatles.
Okay.
So I feel like that's just a song that's always kind of stayed with me and is a part of me.
Love that list. Love that list. And again, everyone will take that in such a different direction. But I love that you had a friend who had contributed to it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I spent some time on it.
I that's the one homework assignment that I give people. And so I thank you for putting in the time.
Can you tell that when there was group assignments, I was the one taking the charge?
Yeah. And then the very last thing, the way that I've ended the last couple, probably like 5-6 episodes, read this article probably a couple months back where it went around and interviewed people in their 20s and asked them to manifest their life 10 years in the future and down to the most specific detail. There was a second layer where it actually calculated how much income they would need to be able to live the life that they wanted. Just a great article, very detailed, loved it. I loved it. And so for the first part of it, I now like to ask my guests where 10 years in the future, Veronica Droulia, where would you like to be? Manifest something for yourself to the most specific detail possible.
I would like to be signed with a production company with the podcast. And I would like to be on the chart for it, Spotify top charts at some point. I don't know which chart.
Which one?
It'd be cool to be on one.
One of the charts, yeah.
I just want to continue growing on what I'm already doing. And with the swimwear line, I'd love to manifest being one of the most successful small independent swimwear designers because I think there's so much power with that. And I think with what we're doing, we're completely sustainable, 100% recycled material. We're really just intentional about everything we're doing. And I think when you're intentional about things, there's good karma in that. So 100%. I would love to just continue growing my business and making it super fruitful. I would love to just be a nomad, travel the world, maybe live in Bali for a bit.
There you go.
And just be like a total free spirit, like work from anywhere. I know we talked about that a little bit. I have this luxury of being able to work from anywhere. And I just want to see the world and eventually have a family and just raise some super babies. Maybe have them on the podcast one day.
Love it.
A family segment.
Family segment on the podcast. That was amazing.
There's nothing in particular that I feel like I want to do differently than I'm already doing. Like I really feel like I have manifested my life and I just want to continue growing on that.
Love that. That was a beautiful answer to cap off a phenomenal episode.
Aww.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. You're an incredible interviewer.
Thank you.
Not interviewer, but conversationalist.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And shout out to Remy again for making this episode happen,
Thanks,
for connecting to
Remy's the best.
Remy is the best. If you're booking WTF Media Studios, book Remy. He's the best. I'm going to clip that and send it to you.
Put it on his socials.
Yeah. But no, this was a great conversation. We could literally do another hour or 2 or 3. And I was like, I got to keep it to time. But thank you again for coming on.
Yeah.
Do you have any final words for the people?
Don't take life too seriously. Just have fun.
Love it. So, you only live once. Enjoy yourself. Work hard. Play a little bit harder. This has been another episode of Go With The Flow. Thank you for listening.
Thanks. Bye.